How did you wind up teaching?
I always taught part-time when I was working in New York, mostly human behavior classes. And I really like teaching, plus when I was in almost every office I worked in, for some reason, I always got to be in charge of interns, especially when we had like some weekend project that we needed all the interns to come in, like in the old days before you printed everything by computer, and you had to make boards with different, images on them, and then color them with Pantone film and stuff. This was always like a huge, big operation, and it often got done over the weekend, and none of the partners and associate partners and stuff like that wanted to come in, so they'd say, "Hey, Lynn, we need you to so that there was I did a lot of teaching at some level in practice. So when I came here, it didn't really actually seem that different for a while. I was like, oh, I'm just like teaching, it was a funny mix of teaching in a class and teaching like you had in practice.
I definitely think the practice is needed because it's more realistic. And I think, I still think people at the second year have a hard time believing, like, oh, I'm going to be doing this for a job.
We're just kind of wasting time for not learning how to do it for real.
During my internship, I learned a lot compared to what I learned here. A lot of different type of useful things, actually.
You're learning things and doing things that you're not going to do later. It's kind of pointless to do them unless there's a result from it. Like, you can't play soccer and then expect to go play football. It doesn't work that way.
I think we need a great deal of real-world experience because that's where we're heading. We're supposed to go out and get a job, and we want to be the best suited that we can to get that job. But a big component of that is also being creative, so that we're desired in the work field.
I think when I was a student long ago in a landscape architecture program, I put a lot of value in what I would consider a realistic project, and I think one thing that has kind of changed over my life is to understand the importance of thinking beyond those limits for a student. So that's one way you learn to design is you don't put the fences around the idea. You allow the student a lot of leeway. And that way ultimately you're innovating. You're not just preparing them like a trade school to do a job. You're actually getting them to think differently and push the boundaries of whatever it is they're doing. If it's landscape architecture, you're only going to get new landscape architecture from people who aren't imitating what's happening in the world already.
Academics is nice just to have a structure and then also experimentation, because that's what design's all about, and you have to have some sort of creative mind to do it.
I kind of like the idea of like far out projects because you really get to use your creativity to be like, this may look like this, but it's not this.
I'm always trying to do new stuff. Sometimes it doesn't work. I did a project the other day, it didn't work, but it's worth trying.
I really appreciate when professors, do things that you don't understand because if you're always doing conventional ways, you never really learn your own way of doing things. And when you're pushed outside of your comfort zone to, explore in a certain way, maybe you realize, hey, this works for me. And in turn, you learn how to learn and learn how to design and learn your own process.
I think during the critiques, they're like, that's not actually feasible. You can't actually do that. And we're like, but we did it here. But I think it's better because you get to experiment more instead of never being able to dream big.
I encourage getting out of the comfort zone daily. I think that's the only way that you can. That's the only way you can see who you are. It's the only way you can develop who you are into into something else, and it's the only way you develop toward a goal that you've set forth is stepping out of that comfort level, stepping out of the kind of typical or safe mode of working. If they're comfortable in just drawing, then encourage them to build. If they're getting stuck in the computer, then I encourage them to engage more hands-on approach. But it's definitely something where constantly pushing them to think beyond what they just know.
I was talking to somebody just yesterday, and we were talking about how wonderful it is when you go into something that you're really almost afraid of doing, and you're like, I'll never be able to get this. And then after going through maybe the whole semester of doing it, and at the end you're like, I don't believe I'm able to do that without thinking about it now, Like the first few weeks of doing GIS, you literally bleed through your eyes, and it's that bad. It's so difficult to grasp, at least for me it was. It's just so difficult to wrap my mind around it. But after a while you're like, I can do this without thinking.
I think that school is kind of, it's a time for exploration. I mean, you learn basic principles that you're going to use in your job, but I don't think school is necessarily you're going to be a mirror image of your job.
I hope to, learn the profession and be able to come out and work, make money, and change the world, I guess. I don't know.
How are you going to change the world?
That's a long answer. That's a really...
It's okay, I have 18 minutes left on my video.
Well, I want to start some kind of firm or collaboration where under one roof you have tons of different people doing tons of different things, so you can come with multiple problems, be it in landscape, be it in architecture, be it in publishing, be it in wherever the hell you want, and we can change it, we can do it.
Why even do this? It's not for the money, right? It's not. You can, if you just want an income or a career or something, there's probably better ways to do it. But if you really love designing, which I think some people do, I really believe that some people are just born that way. And if you are that kind of person, then I think that part of what I'm trying to do is get people to understand that in themselves and then come to enjoy it.